In this video, we're going to go over the advanced science of metabolic priming. How can you prime your metabolism with carbohydrates, and how are men over 40, 50 years old getting absolutely shredded, eating more food than they started? In today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how. And so in the video, we're going to go over low carb diets, where you're probably at currently right now, and the problem with low carb diets, and the result of under eating on calories for a significant period of time. And then I'm going to show you example of metabolic priming, what our company currently specializes in, how does it work, and what are the benefits to metabolic priming. And then we're going to go over a case study with my client Andrew, who's 51 years old and is absolutely shredded, eating the same amount of food in both of these photos. And if you don't believe me, please stick around to the end, because I'm going to show you not only his calories per day, what we put in his plan, how we transitioned his body, and the exact actual macronutrient changes that we made each and every week for him to see this type of progress at 51 years old using carbohydrates. So if you guys don't know me by now, my name's Adam Bunnell. I'm an online metabolic specialist, and I specialize in a process called metabolic priming. We've helped almost 1,000 men worldwide through our company, getting them to elite level body compositions using metabolic priming. We have a team of specialists that specialize in endocrinology, nutrition, exercise science, and we've put it all together to create a one-of-a-kind program that is currently trending on the internet right now. And these are just some of the guys that we worked with in the last 6 months alone. And so today's video is going to be a really good in-depth video on metabolic priming and the process that we use, and understanding it in full, and how you can actually go out there and do it yourself today. So let's get right into today's video. So this is my client, Andrew. I want to show you kind of where he started at, because this is a really good case study to bring up, because Andrew had been on a low-carb diet for a pretty long period of time. And just like a lot of the men that come to us, his whole goal is to get pretty lean like he was in college, lean like he was in high school, and get back to that elite body composition that makes him feel confident, makes him feel proud of the body, and makes him feel proud of just the body he presents himself with. So he's an IT trainer, wants to lose 5 to 7% body fat, struggles to reach his goals. His current calorie intake was 1,800 in the gym 5 days a week, but he needs a nutrition plan to collapse time, and has 4 daughters and a group of friends he hangs out with. So the group will be wondering what he's been doing to get so fit, and has a wedding to pay. So he wants to basically get in shape for a wedding, feel better, look better, and we're going to show you exactly how. So on this video on the left, he's eating 1,800 calories. On this one, he's eating 1,950, and this is actually screenshotted from today. And so I'm going to show you exactly how we do this. But first, we got to understand why low-carb diets have put men in a position where they're unable to lose body fat, all right? And so following a low-carb diet may lead to long-term nutrient deficiencies, constipation, dehydration, electrolyte imbalances. While the initial weight loss is possible, which I do hear a lot on the internet, it's like, oh, I followed a low-carb diet and lost 120 pounds. I'm gonna explain why you have lost that much amount of weight here in a second, but particularly those focused on reducing refined carbs and emphasizing whole vegetable fats may be associated with decreased risk of type 2 diabetes. So what's happening with low-carb diets is people are cutting carbohydrates, which by default cuts calories, and then puts you in a calorie deficit. So it's not the low-carb diet, it's the calorie deficit that is making low-carb diets popular amongst the last 10 years. But now we've hit a case in society, and we've hit a point in society where these low-carb diets and the people who've been following those low-carb diets have hit this plateau that they just can't seem to get over. And I'm going to explain why. But the short-term effects of low-carb diet is keto flu, constipation, dehydration, nutrient deficiencies long-term, increase of chronic disease, all-cause rate mortality, potential for disordered eating because it's not very sustainable, because once you start to undereat in calories, you start to get hungry, and then diet composition, individual health, and most of all, sustainability. Many people find long-term low-carb diets challenging to maintain, leading difficulty to sticking to the plan. So you've probably heard people who've been, it's like, oh yeah, I lost 25 pounds with keto, right? Well, what they've done is they just cut calories, and when they add the calories back, they gain the weight back. Well, how many times have they done keto? So the reason why I want to bring up this, I want to put an emphasis on this, is that if you want sustainability, you need to understand how to maintain this long-term. And long-term, low-carb diets just aren't sustainable. And the actual Mastering Diabetes online group coaching states that low-carb diets significantly increase chronic disease long-term, like glucose metabolism, heart disease, overall health health. Inflammation, which is a huge, huge thing that I see amongst our clients that come to us, is a very high levels of overall bodily inflammation due to fatigue on the body. Low energy, impaired digestion, food cravings, low carbohydrate tolerance, which means that if you eat a little bit of carbohydrates, you bloat up, and then increase actual insulin resistance, right? And so why I bring that up is that the Institute of Functional Medicine actually did a study, do low carbohydrate diets negatively impact metabolic health? So obviously this correlates to what I do because being an online metabolic specialist, I read into a lot of this stuff. And they've came up with recently in 2023, a cross-sectional study investigated the short-term health and impact of low carbohydrate diet consumption measured by inflammatory and metabolic markers, right? And so this is kind of where we specialize in, is the inflammatory and metabolic markers amongst men 40 to 50, 60 years old. So low carbohydrate group consumed less than 45% of their daily intake. The recommended range of carbohydrate group consumed 45% to 65% of daily intake from carbohydrates. And the high carbohydrate group consumed more than 65% of their daily intake. And so among the results that came, investigators reported that the low carbohydrate group was significantly associated with high levels of insulin resistance, measured by HOMA-IR and C-peptide levels, compared to the recommended range of carbohydrate group. Further, the C-peptide elevation in the low-carb group was found to be associated with the secretion of elevation in inflammatory markers. So, what we want to know is that, yes, low-carb diets do help you make the initial progress due to caloric deficits. But long-term, it creates insulin resistance. So let's think about this. What's happening within our body that's actually happening when you start to undereat on calories and go into a calorie deficit over a significant period of time? Because now that we know, we just stated that it's not low-carb diets that are helping you lose weight. It's the caloric, deficiency, right? You just calorically deficit. And what happens is when you do undereat in calories for extended period of time, your body interrupts the lack of calories as the threat, activates a survival mechanism to preserve energy, leading to a slow metabolic rate, which is also known as metabolic adaptation. This is a slowdown, involves your body's burning fewer calories at rest, reducing its energy expenditure. So it's a survival mechanism with loss of lean muscle tissue, which is extremely important within men as you start to age. And then difficulty with weight loss with a slower BMR. A slower metabolism makes it harder to lose weight because your body is burning fewer calories, reduced energy and fatigue. So you might feel tired, have low energy throughout the day as your body conserves energy, and then hormonal and mood changes. Other effects can include mood changes, hormonal fluctuations, and increased hunger. And then what you can do is avoid extreme caloric restriction, which I'm about to show you how. And then focus on nutrient-dense foods, incorporate strength training to maintain muscle tissue. So to kind of put this into context, this is what happens with your overall calories. So calories in versus calories out on a calorie deficit. Your calories out is your BMR, NEAT, thermic effective food, and exercise activity, right? And so when you start your, low-carb diet, for instance, let's take that, and you've been eating whatever the hell you want to, first of all, what are you going to do first of all? You're going to cut out sugary drinks, candy, snacks, and let's think about this logically. What are all those? Those are all just carbohydrate sources, right? And so by significance, you put yourself into a calorie deficit, and then you start to eat less calories. So you start to eat less calories in, take less calories in, and then over time, you run into a metabolic adaptation, right? Which your BMR and NEAT actually drop. Ghrelin, cortisol increase. Leptin, thyroid hormone, insulin, peptide, YY, and GLP-1 decrease. And so leptin, satiety hormone, thyroid hormone, associated T3 and T4, insulin, peptide, YY, which means your ability to regulate glucose, and then GLP-1, which is GLP-1 is like the hunger, right? Let's take for instance, Ozempic, right? It's a GLP-1 inhibitor, right? And so you start to get more hungry. So now where you're at is your calorie intake has leveled out, right? So now your calories out equals calories in. So this is now your new maintenance. So if you're eating 1,800 calories, you've been eating 1,800 calories for a while, you've now leveled out into your maintenance calories in versus calories out because you've down-regulated your BMR and your NEAT. So why are high-carb diets a lot more beneficial? So the high-carb diets increase energy, aiding in digestion and supporting weight management through the feelings of fullness. These diets are associated with reduced risk of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome, and improving insulin sensitivity. So yes, like we have a lot of guys who come with us with insulin sensitivity, borderline type 2 diabetes, and we help reduce A1Cs significantly by increasing carbohydrates and putting their body in a state where they actually absorb carbohydrates better. So you lower cholesterol levels and triglycerides and promoting healthier body. However, the benefits depend on how heavily the quality of carbohydrates consumed, as refined sugary carbs can have a negative metabolic consequence. So that's why I bring up that in a lot of cases, these low-carb diets aren't really necessary because you're going low-carb. They're necessarily because you're cutting out consumed refined sugary carbs and putting yourself in a calorie deficit. So if you eat healthy carbs, like white rice, cream of rice, fruit, single-ingredient foods, you have better energy athletic performance, improved insulin sensitivity and metabolic health, reduced risk of chronic disease, better digestion, and better weight management, right? And so how do we put this all together? Let's say that you're a type of individual who's been low-calorie dieting for an extended period of time, spinning your wheels, and you just are stuck at that 1,800 to 2,000 calorie mark. Your body feels inflamed. You have brain fog. You can't sleep very well. You're irritable. You just don't have the energy you used to. You don't have the energy you used to when you're younger, and you blame it on the fact that you're getting older. But the fact is that you're just putting yourself in a position to where you're under eating on calories and not giving your body the nutrients that it needs to effectively utilize and run efficiently and overall. So what is metabolic priming, first of all? I know you guys are wondering, if you're new to the channel, what is metabolic priming? So metabolic priming is a strategy to improve the efficiency of your body's energy systems, to support better fat loss or performance, often through a structured approach involving diet, exercise, and lifestyle changes. In the context of the human body, metabolic priming involves the preconditioning of the metabolism by optimizing energy stores and utilization, such as strategically manipulating carbohydrate intake prior to a fat loss phase or period of increased training. This differs from merely cutting calories, focusing instead on maintaining metabolic function and muscle mass for long-term health and healthy body composition. So the reason that our program on the internet right now is one of the top online coaching programs on the internet is because of the approach we use when it comes to long-term effects. So in 2024, our company got recognized as top 4 out of 400,000 different online coaching companies for our sustainability of overall progress, right? And so the reason is because we put our clients in a position, not only education-wise, but body composition-wise, to be able to sustain it long-term. Most of our clients who come to us, it's a one-stop shop to program to where they learn what they need to do about their body, and so they can sustain it long-term. In a lot of cases, guys who go to these one-stop shop online programs that don't teach you the necessarily benefits of how your body works, what foods are the best for your body, and particularly what macronutrients you need, how to mitigate vacations, how to mitigate going out to dinners, and everything in between. They try to keep you around over and over and over, and you keep signing up over and over and over because you're reliant on them. The reason our program is the top online program is because we teach sustainability. We teach education. We teach how you can stay there, because at the end of our clients' programs, we want to go shake their hand and be like, all right, you go out and you go teach this to your children. You go out and you teach this to your wife. You go out and create generational impact based upon the information you now know on how the body works. And that's what sets us apart from most online programs. But like, what is a metabolism really? It's the metabolism of the process with the body. It converts food and drink into energy. Factors influencing metabolism, your metabolism rate, how quickly you burn calories, is influenced by age, sex, muscle mass, and activity level. Metabolic adaptation. When your body senses a prolonged need for energy conservation, your metabolic rate can decrease, making it hard to lose or maintain weight, right? So this is how your metabolism burns energy, right? You have your biggest impact, which is your resting metabolic rate, where our clients focus. Notice how big, this is 70% of how you burn calories a day, right? So notice our impact we have within our clients on where we necessarily focus. We focus on the largest part. And what is it? The metabolic rate. This represents the energy it takes for your body to just be alive. Even if you laid in bed all day without moving an inch, you would burn a significant amount of energy. RMR accounts for 50 to 70% of the energy you would burn per day. So it's basically essential body organs, right? And so let's break down how many calories each organ actually burns at rest. So your liver 300 calories a day being pretty large because carbohydrates have to enter the liver to actually be processed, is 300 calories. Your brain, 360. Your heart, 163. Your kidneys, 114. Skeletal muscle tissue, which makes up 23%. So if we can increase muscle tissue, we can increase calories burned, right? So this is an important note. And then we have, adipose tissue, which, does burn calories because it's a very cellular active foundation when it comes to body composition. And so that's important to note as well. But everything else is about 388. But notice you burn 1,700 calories just by keeping your body alive, right? And obviously this is a depiction of I don't know who, but what I'm saying is that you burn a significant amount of calories per day just keeping you alive. When you undereat, what happens is your body starts to down-regulate all of the other functions of your BMR to maintain what keeps you alive. Right? So if you start to undereat, you're going to start to downregulate the activities that you burn through NEAT, downregulate the calories you burn through TEF, and downregulate the calories that you burn, most importantly, from energy expenditure during your training, which obviously doesn't make up a significant amount, only about 5%, really. But if we break these down, this is the energy used to perform formal exercise. Things like lifting weights, going for a jog, the amount of energy you burn from exercise varies depending on the intensity, but you can count for 10 to 20%. Thermic effect of food, 10% of how you burn calories. So just eating food, you burn calories. And obviously, when we get into thermic effect of food, like if we understand what carbohydrates do from a thermic effect of food perspective, they have a 10% thermic effect. Protein has a 35. So like fat have a 3. So utilizing protein and carbs and a low-fat diet, which we use with metabolic priming, you can actually burn more calories eating more food. And then your non-energy activity thermogenesis, energy you use moving around day, doing your normal day activities, walking around, picking things up, blah, blah, blah. Like you're just stuff that you do every day, right? These movements tend to add up through the day and account for almost 10 to 20% of how you burn calories. So this is like a significant amount for like not focusing on anything, really. It's just the movements that you do per day. But anyways, let's put this all together and let's put everything that you just learned right now into actual active concept with my client Andrew here, 51 years old, same calories, absolutely shredded at 51 years old. We went through exactly kind of where he's at, 1,800 calories, wants to get to sub 10% body fat. He's now at 1,950 calories, but we didn't start him off. He hasn't been at 1950. I think got all up to 3,000 calories. But anyways, this is kind of where we start. So notice how he's like highly inflamed right here, right? He's low carb diet, just highly inflamed, and just kind of spinning his wheels. So he started off at 177 right here. And what do we do every single day? We primed his metabolism. First thing we had to do, fix digestion and fix inflammation, right? Because we know through low carb diets, what happens is you start to increase inflammation. If you have high levels of inflammation in your body will prohibit you from losing body fat. It will quite literally stop you from losing body fat because inflammation is such a highly cellular active part of the overall human process when it comes to inflammation. So we need to understand we got to first of all improve digestion, decrease inflammation. That's number 1 and 2. And so right off the top of the bat, we gave him correct macronutrients, protein, carbs, and fats. The reason why we give him protein, carbs, and fats, not just calories, is because protein, carbs, and fats have a direct impact on your metabolic health, your overall blood markers, and your overall body composition. If we know how much protein, carbs, and fats your body specifically needs to optimize metabolic function, that's how we get to a lean physique, okay? So we want to start to improve digestion. Just within the first week, like we crushed it. Just within, 7 days right here, we crushed it, and his digestion started to get significantly better. He lost a lot of this kind of inflammation around his love handles right here, and all we did was give him correct macronutrients, and we increased his food. So we increased from 1,800 to 2,200. We would give him 400 more calories, and usually we'll do this with clients too who have been undereating for some time because they need the carbohydrates to reduce the inflammation, okay? And this is what he actually said within the first week. He said, my wife has noticed a difference in overall the last week. I can tell as well. I'm very excited by the progress and what's to come. No more digestion issues, right? So we fixed digestion with him. Now what do we do? Now, because he did hit a new low within the first week. He dropped from 177 to 172, and that's just improving digestion and reducing inflammation. Then what do? Do we lower calories? No, we kept on priming his metabolism because our goal is to get his calories up as high as possible so that we have more calories to work with in a structured fat loss phase. So over time, what we did is simply just add 25 more grams of carbohydrates. He checks in, we analyze him, we ask him how's the inflammation, ask him how's his digestion, ask him how's his sleep, ask him how his strength training sessions are going, is he improving in muscle tissue, and each week we do that exact same thing. And you can kind of notice, like, over these first couple weeks, we got him up to 27, 28, 2,900 calories. And his weight really just didn't move too much. But what we're doing is we are creating leverage, right? So you can think about it like this metaphorically, is that like we're trying to fill the bathtub up and so that we can slowly drown the water out of the bathtub within caloric restriction, right? If you are severely low in calories, you have no water in the bathtub, then you have no calories to actually take from. So what we do is you typically drop some cardio for the guys, and metaphorically, we plug the bathtub, and we start filling your body up slowly with calories, making sure your body's transitioning properly, utilizing glucose properly. And if we do this, when we do this perfectly, and what it looks like beautifully, is that we get clients all the way up to 2,900 calories, and they didn't gain 1 pound, right? So now what would we do? We've created such great leverage, we can actually start a structured cut, right? Which we did right here. So this is the actual changes from day one up until his actual start of his cut. Notice how much like strength and how much density his muscle tissues have now. His back and his shoulders have really, really started to pop. Like this is what we're looking for, because we noted in your BMR that it burns almost 25% of the calories out of your BMR. So we want to increase muscle tissue while we're increasing calories. But like even from his front shot, notice how much leaner, how much bigger his biceps are. He has just more structure. He's leaner already, eating almost, 1,100 more calories. And now what do we do? Now we can start cutting them down a little bit. We started 4 weeks of cardio, four times weekly of cardio, just very light cardio. And then look what happens over these next few weeks as we actually start to lower the calories, right? So we can see how his weight is over the first week, his weight drops tremendously by just decreasing, 50 grams of carbohydrates. Because what we've done here is we've utilized carbohydrates to the point that we know the body's main energy source is carbohydrates. So we know what energy source to take from to give him a correct, calorie deficit that is going to be metabolically beneficial. So obviously we started to lower him a little bit in carbohydrates. We lowered a little bit of fat to improve digestion. So really quickly, what fats do, it's like they hold up digestion a little bit. So your high-fat diets, like the reason why you feel like you're always in digestion with a high-fat diet is because it's a very slow thermic effect of food. So if we lower the fat intake, we can optimize, digestion to make things move quicker through the body. And so what we did was we lower a little bit of fats right here to optimize digestion. I have my note right there. And then we can see we raised 1 day of cardio and added 10 minutes. And then 23, we added, when we lowered the 50 grams of carbohydrates right here, this is when it really started to get good. But I want to show you his weight. And so as we start to do this, notice how much significant weight drop we see because we have more calories to work from. And so even right here, when we finally got him down and we dropped these 50 grams of carbohydrates right here, we can see right off the bat how much more structure he's starting to have. He hit a new time all low weigh-in right here. And then the next week, what do we do? A little bit less carbohydrates to 25, add a little bit of steps to increase non-energy activity thermogenesis, and then he starts to really, really lean out. I mean, look at his front shot right here and his side shot right here, just between these two check-ins that we had with him. And then he had a severe weight drop as well that went aligned with that. I think this was the weekend he went out with his buddies from college. He texted me. He was like, hey, I went off plan a little bit, but it is what it is. That does happen. Life is life, and we don't expect our clients to follow the plan exactly perfectly. Sometimes we have life events that do occur. But this is what happens. He came back, he checked in. I said, okay, let's give you a small little bit of a refeed, and then let's lower calories after as well. So what I did was from 2,100 calories is psychologically what I'm doing right here is I gave him more calories, and the next day I took calories away. So what happens when you do that is the body gets this burst of carbohydrates. It's like carbohydrates. Your engines start turning. Your body starts burning the carbohydrates at a fast rate. The next day, it's going to continue to keep burning those carbohydrates. And so if we lower the food amount, lower the carbohydrates, a little bit of protein, the next day, after that refeed, we can psychologically trick the body to burning more calories on that day, and you have less calories coming in. And this is what happens when that does happen. This is the next week. He not only hit a new low weigh-in after this at 167, but like this is what he did when he checked in. Just absolutely shredded, 51. And then this is what he said after he got back from his trip with his buddies. Saw my buddies from college, and they were all impressed. Said this is the best I've ever looked at 51 years old. And this is what it looks like perfectly. So 1,800 calories right here, very low carb, very highly inflamed, very shitty sleep, and then 1,900 calories, right? Absolutely shredded, jacked as hell, and it's 51 years old. And this is why, our approach sets us apart from the rest of the industry, because we use an actual biological approach that tailors to your endocrine system based upon macronutrients and weekly adjustments based upon progress made. And the importance of, micro adjustments based upon progress made is because if you're not making micro adjustments each week as your body's changing, that's how we hit a plateau. So this is what it looks like beautifully, 51 years old. And this is like, Andrew's just one of almost 1,000 people that our team collectively has worked with over the last 5 years using this approach of metabolic priming. And like I said, what sets us apart is the unique mechanism that we use that tailors to your overall metabolic, not only metabolic rate, but also improving metabolism, improving muscle tissue, but most of all, overall longevity. Because like I said, our goal is to, put our clients in a position where they never need us again. Andrew's 51 years old. He doesn't want to be 80 years old still with an online coach. And like, I don't want to be, 50, 60 years old either, still coaching 80-year-olds. So anyways, with that being said, if you are somebody who has been struggling with low-carb diets and you've hit that plateau and you've been looking through the internet right now trying to find your answer, like I implore you, there's going to be a link down below for you to sign up for time with our team. Our client success rate is at a 97.42 as of right now, and we are the top online coaching program on the internet for the scientific approach that we do use. If you're somebody who's just stopping by, I hope that this was able to give you some sort of clarity in the direction you should be going next. But do keep in mind that I do keep 90% of what I leave on this channel out of this channel for my clients as well. Just as overall discretionary and also respective to my overall clients as well. We work with almost 250 guys online right now. We run a really damn good group of guys, really great community. It's seriously one of a kind. And if you're somebody who has been struggling and you're looking for that next step and you don't want to wait any bit longer, you want to look better than you ever did before, look like you did in your 20s and your 30s, sign up for the link down below and we'll get you rocking and rolling. But anyways, hope you liked the video. Like, comment, subscribe, turn my bell notifications on. Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, new videos, but I'll see you guys next time.